2012 actually turned out to be quite a good year, up and down again. As I mentioned, I'm prone to injury. I started well at the beginning of the year, did the Art O'Neill Challenge, and then I had my heart set on doing the Marathon des Sables, because again, that was another one of those things I read about, and it just blew my mind. And luckily enough, I'd gotten a place, but I was out injured for about 8 weeks, so I had to spend weeks and weeks on the cross trainer, looking at a dot on the wall, imagining sand dunes, and you know, I just wanted to be there whether or not I was fit enough. But thankfully I made it to the Marathon des Sables, and I thought, okay, this is great, this is my year now. And I was trying to think a month or two after, as I was continuing to train and do marathons at Marathon Club Ireland, what will I do? I must do something in September. Yeah, I got this phone call then in July, one Tuesday after lunch. I don't think I'll forget it. It was one of those moments that I had a weakness in my hand when I was, you know, told that this event was coming up in Poland, and Athletics Ireland had considered me as someone who could be on or part of the Irish team, and would I be interested in doing it? And of course, without hesitating, I said yes, and then realised, okay, I've only got about 8 weeks to just pull some sort of a training plan together and to get my head around it. I worked as hard as I could. I put everything into it. I just thought it was it was the dream, really, of a child's dream, you know, that to get this opportunity. So
and a phenomenal result, new Irish record.
I couldn't have made it up. I couldn't have dreamt it. But I was very fortunate. I mean, the day was perfect. It was a very Irish day. You know, it was 18 degrees, mild. A light sprinkling of rain throughout the day, so the temperature and everything was perfect. I suppose because I was wearing the Irish jersey as well, I just felt very proud, I guess, and I wanted to just do my best. I did everything I could to keep going, and I couldn't have asked for a better result. You know,
and then your worst nightmare, you got injured on the back of it.
I got injured simply because I didn't respect the recovery time. It's as important. Your training obviously is phenomenally important. Your mental training as well as your physical training. But you also have to respect the recovery time afterwards. And you know, I didn't heed advice. I felt great. Often you do feel great 2 weeks after. I was thinking, I feel fine now. I'm going to get back into it. And I just got back into training far too quickly. The intensity far too high. And signs on it. I woke up one morning and couldn't walk downstairs. Thought it was just an IT band issue. It didn't go away, and I was left with problems for about 6 months. I just could not seem to get back into any sort of decent training with regards to running anyway. You know, I wouldn't manage more than 6 miles maximum without having a problem with my knee. So I just had to totally back away from it. Got into different sorts of training, started looking at CrossFit, trying to just get the body strong and balanced again. The hardest part of it, though, was the mental anguish. Is the only way I can describe it. You know, you start to really question, would I ever be able to start to run again or get back to the level I wanted to? And you know, it was tough, but thankfully things started to come around again last April.
So you missed the World Championships this year in the Netherlands, but back for Belfast. Why Belfast? Why did you pick that?
Number of reasons. I really wanted to see if I could get back to the same level again, if I was capable of running over the 200k, and of course the national championship as well was a perfect opportunity, you know, to see if I could rise to that challenge. Plus it was a track, it was a slightly different element to the 24-hour, so it was nice to kind of have covered all bases. I've experienced the indoor, I've experienced the road, so this was perfect opportunity to experience the track. The setting was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it must be one of the finest tracks in the country, if not anywhere else really. It's one of the things that's beautiful about it is that it's just in such a green, sheltered area in the middle of the city. There's a lovely kind of natural amphitheatre.
What about the feeding, and did you have to change your strategy as you went along?
No, everyone has a different approach. As I say, there's many ways to skin a cat, but for me, I prefer to keep running. I prefer to keep moving all the time. It just allows the body, I think, to lock into a rhythm. Mentally as well, I think I would have a few milestones in my head that I would just say to myself, absolutely no way am I going to stop until I reach maybe 100k or 100 miles even, or 200k. As time progresses, it gets harder not to stop. A lot of that though is due to mental frailties beginning to creep in over time. It happens. You bargain with yourself a lot, throughout the event, and I would find, okay, after the 100k I'll stop for just a second just to gather my thoughts, or after 100 miles, and so on and so forth. But some people use a different strategy. They would do X amount of slower laps, stop for a second, and then do X a number of fast laps. I just prefer to keep it even, and it's kind of a slow and steady wins the race motto. Won't always work, may not work for everybody, but it seems to keep me just going and keeping the body fooled into thinking that everything is normal. It's just an extension of a walk, and try to keep everything calm.
So apart from a call of nature, you didn't leave the track at all?
No, and I would hope that in future events that would be the same strategy.
And what about the feeding?
The feeding, that is always, obviously, as well as the physical training, the feeding, if you don't get that right, it's like a car, your engine stops, you can't keep going. It's always, again, a big challenge. I worked out, based on my body weight, and roughly the amount of calories I would expect to burn up throughout the event. So for me, it's approximately 220 to 250 calories. Naturally, it's very hard to maintain that, so I try to take as much in as I can at the beginning, so that if anything goes wrong, and which it does, it just gets harder and harder to keep any fuel in, because over time the stomach just stops the absorption, particularly of things like protein and everything else. So it's better to have something in the stomach than nothing, but it is a massive challenge. But I have a good crew at hand. My husband takes care of all of that. We have a chart or a spreadsheet, and he meticulously documents everything I take in.
Ruthann's a very organised individual, and this is our third outing, so it wasn't as difficult as people would think. Having a 400 metre track makes it easy to keep track of where the athlete is, so it's really, do I need to feed her information? What have we agreed to feed her? And then tracking really what she's eating or drinking, and just watching for signs of whether she's comfortable or not, and usually she doesn't give me too much difficulty early on in the race.
And later on?
Later on, typically it's not until after 12 to 16 hours that you might start seeing some signs. So really what we've been focusing on the last race was nutrition, because nutrition after that time frame tends to get a bit of a challenge for Ruthann when she's running. But we tried a new plan today, and again it seemed to work well.
And what essentially was she taking? I mean, what was the staple diet?
I know ultra runners all have very unusual diets. Now Ruthann's wasn't a classic runner's diet either. A lot of it was really banana and Actimel based. There was a combination of cold drinks being water, Lucozade, and also a high five energy drink. Gels don't typically work well, but this time we tried an organic gel which was based on agave, kind of chocolatey, and she was really taking the solid foods right up until hours 14 to 16. Thereafter it was back down to liquids.
Very hard not to be sick with that sort of a mixture, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we learn a little bit more each time we do an event, and in this case I think we're going to try and find something with less protein. Stomach did get upset a couple of times, but she was very good at recovering and let me know if I hadn't spotted it already that she'd been unwell, and we'd prepared a recovery routine, let's say, in case she did get really ill, and we kicked into that for one lap as well.
Looking back over the race, of course, everyone, in post-mortems kind of can see where things could have gone a bit better, or I could have maybe definitely improved on my result. I think the potential was there to go beyond the 2:30. I think just mentally, I found the last 4 hours my focus was definitely drifting. I found myself thinking, I've enough done now, I can just relax, and really there'll be something I'll work on in future when it comes to track, just to be able to spend a bit longer on the psychological conditioning, because there's an awful lot of that has to go along with 24-hour preparation as well. You need to know when the weaknesses set in and have internal triggers built so that you can bring yourself back.
So
back to reality, back to this is what I really want, this is what it's about, this is a job, and you know, you have your own little drill sergeant in your head that you need to be able to trigger off and, you know, keep you going.
When it comes to individual motivation, you know, when you get to the event, the guys have pretty much already realised they've done the training to get through. Just when they have a little moment of doubt, you need to give them encouragement, to be that a little push or be that a little bit of questioning, just something that triggers them back into, you know, recognising they can do more.
Okay, does it help being a husband and wife? Does that work to coach an athlete?
I wouldn't call myself a coach. Does it work? I think it does work, because we've already got that implicit trust there that I'm never going to be acting in her in any way other than her best interest. And probably, let's say as a husband, I could probably go that little bit further in terms of pushing than, say, a stranger would, like a first-time crew member. And we sort of understand each other quite well. So at this point, I can pretty much tell if she's in trouble or if she's just, you know, tired, and you know, adapt, let's say, how we respond or how we motivate her based on what we've discussed and agreed already. So we already know things that I shouldn't do if she needs a little bit of a push. We know things I shouldn't do if she feels that she needs to stop, and we just apply those. And, you know, as husband and wife, we can always talk through and be very brutally honest with each other afterwards in terms of what didn't work. So yeah, I think the husband-wife combination works well for me.
I do. I really have, I suppose, a new goal in mind to go beyond the 230 and maybe try and get to 240. Why not? Why not just give it my all? That's the way I look at it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that will be my focus, I guess, for the next World Championships, to try and I suppose have a new goal, dream bigger, and give it everything I have. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It just will mean I'll have tried my hardest.
One final question. What was it like when you stopped that moment when the 24 hours were up and you had amassed so many kilometres?
It's a moment of sheer joy. It's just incredible. I think I just lay down on the ground and just thanked God and everywhere, all the deities. Just a great sense of relief as well that you make it to the end, and I think everyone has that same feeling. It's just, you know, extraordinary. Whatever your goal is, I think it's just an extraordinary feeling to have survived, and everyone is on the same personal journey, I suppose. And yeah, it is bliss. It's very nice.
Very well done.
Thank you very much.